Hey, hello, and welcome to this episode of Learn Everyday English, your roadway to English proficiency. I'm out in the front yard. I'm going to be taking a little walk or a stroll around the neighborhood. It's a nice day. It's about 10:30 in the morning. Let's see, it's Friday, September 29th, and it's still pretty cool. It feels nice out here. It's probably like maybe 80 degrees. Usually still getting up into the 90s during the daytime, and it's been kind of humid, so thought I'd try to get out a little bit early. I usually take a walk in the afternoon or toward the evening, sometimes around 2, if it's not too hot, or I'll wait till like 6 o'clock. But it's nice now, so I decided to come out, take a walk, and do my walk around the neighborhood and have a little chat with you. I haven't done one of these, say, walkabouts or these walk-arounds in quite a while. But before I start walking, there's 3 things you can do for me. Hey, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and 3, tell your friends about it so that they can benefit from these videos too. Hey, just like you. All right, well, let's get to walking, as we say, get to walking. And I can kind of tell you what's been going on with me lately. Something happened then I did. I thought that was very interesting, kind of exciting, and I'll tell you about that. But let me tell you, I guess, how my Spanish language learning journey has been going. I don't think I've updated you guys very much about that. But as you know, I've probably been studying Spanish for about 5-6 years now, maybe getting close to 6 years. And right now, I don't really study from a book. I have some Spanish books I might read, but I don't do a lot of reading. I may only read maybe once a week, maybe twice a week at the most. I don't take any really Spanish classes. I don't study grammar or study Spanish from a book per se. The only thing I really do now is just I listen to Spanish podcasts, and I might listen to a podcast maybe once a day or once every other day. But what I do every day is I watch a lot of videos in Spanish, not really movies per se, but actually just YouTube videos. So I have a playlist that I've subscribed to, a lot of different channels on YouTube, and when they submit a new video, I'm notified, and I watch those videos. So I probably have, 20-30 different YouTube channels that I have subscribed to, and I watch. And some of them are maybe for people learning Spanish, like Hispanolistos or Spanish Land School, and some other sites like that. But a lot of them are just people that have channels on YouTube that speak in Spanish. So a lot of them, there's one gentleman named Oscar Alejandro. He's originally from Venezuela, but he lives in Miami. He kind of travels the world, goes to different locations, and it's all in Spanish, so I watch that. There's Luisito Comunico. He's a Mexican YouTuber, very popular. I also watch like documentaries, and so to me, and that works best for me. You need to find what works best for you. But for me, I found that listening is really what I like to do. And so I just try to listen and watch videos every day. And since I'm retired, I have the time. So I watch probably several hours of YouTube videos a day in Spanish. So I find my listening comprehension is getting better and better. I still can't really watch a movie in Spanish, like a Netflix movie, without having subtitles, and it seems like an impossible task to me. It's getting better and better, but I don't know if eventually I'll be able to watch a Netflix movie without Spanish subtitles. I don't use English subtitles, but I use Spanish subtitles. But seems like it's still a long way off before I'll be able to watch a movie in Spanish without the subtitles. But so I put another goal, I guess this year, by the end of the year, I would be able to do that. So I'm still working on that. And I watched a video of a gentleman. He, I guess, has a channel in Spanish where he talks about, gives you tips about helping you learn Spanish. And he said, according to him, the most important thing is listening, even more so than speaking. And his position was, you need to be able to understand what people are talking to you about or telling you, so that you can know how to respond. Because if you can't understand, speaking is not really going to help you out a whole lot if you don't know what's being said. So he had a point about that. But different people have different ways of doing things. So, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking other ways. To knock means I'm not saying it's wrong or complaining about it. So, like I said, do what works for you. Do what works for you. So now I want to get into kind of telling you my workflow, I could say, or what I do every day, or what I've been focusing on. But I'm going to turn the video off now because I got to walk up the street and my neighbor is on his riding lawnmower making a lot of noise. So let me walk past his house, then I'll turn the video back on. Okay, well, I passed my friend Curtis's house. I didn't want to have to be talking and compete with all that racket going on. That racket means just a lot of noise is racket. Like if a child is noisy, kids are playing, they can shout and scream. We can say they're making a lot of racket. They're making a lot of racket. So I didn't want to have to talk while passing by Curtis's house and he's on his riding lawnmower. But now there's some birds making a lot of racket. Can you hear that? They're making a lot of racket. They're just chirping away. But let me tell you kind of what I do now as far as my Spanish goes. I'm mainly just focusing on conversation. So that's kind of my emphasis. And so this is what I do. Like I told you, I focus on listening comprehension, but now I've decided to try to focus on improving my conversation ability. And so I subscribe to a YouTube channel called No Hay Tos. And there are two young men from Mexico. One lives in Puebla, the other lives in Mexico City. But as they say, they're those ways just having a conversation, and they use a lot of Spanish expressions and sayings, slang, that type of thing. That's why I like it. Since I live in Texas, close to Mexico, I thought it would be good to know how the people in Mexico speak, and not just the people on the border or in La Frontera, but the people actually in Mexico. So it's good, and I'm a Patreon subscriber to their YouTube channel, and that allows me to get the transcripts of their YouTube episodes. And so I get those, I guess, about once a week, and I read through those, and normally there's quite a few words and phrases, expressions I don't know. And so I have a italki teacher, Victor Miranda, and it's good. He's a very nice guy. Last year we took a trip to Mexico, and he met us and was gracious enough to be our tour guide every day. Well, we were pretty much every day while we were down there in Mexico City, showing us around, telling us the history. So, learning a language has its benefits, and that's what I love about Spanish or learning another language. I was able to meet people like Victor. But since he lives in Mexico, and especially in the interior part of Mexico, and especially in Mexico City, he knows all about the expressions and slang that they use in Mexico. And so I go through this transcript from the No Aitos podcast or YouTube channel, and then I make comments and notes, and I meet with him roughly about once a week. Say on every Mondays now. Lately we've been meeting on Monday, and I just go over all the questions I have with him about these expressions and modismos that people use in Mexico. And it's also a conversation opportunity for me. We also talk about other things, how life is going, and if I may have questions about other things related to Spanish, he can answer them for me. So that's 1 hour a week I have with Victor to practice conversation and just learning about Mexican expressions. And then I found this other gentleman. He's from Spain. His name is Santiago Peña Martin, and I've just happened to stumble across him, or stumble across his website. To stumble across means like to bump into or find by chance. So I just happened to stumble across his website. I was just doing a search about Spanish conversation classes or courses, and he has something that I found fairly interesting, which I thought would really help my conversation ability. He has a group classes with people, maybe no more than 3, 4, 5 people, and he gives you kind of a topic or a handout, an assignment, something to read with questions, and then the group meets once a week, and we discuss what we read and give our input. So it's a very good way to practice your conversation. And I've been doing that for like about 2 months now, and I really enjoy it. And we only have about anywhere from 2 to 4 students total in the class, so everybody has a good opportunity to express themselves and to give their opinion and to practice their conversation. The class usually lasts between an hour, say hour and 15 minutes. And what's good about it too, toward the end of the class, Santiago tells each student, he makes notes while we're talking, and he tells you some of the things that you said that were incorrect, or perhaps that you could say better, and he gives you corrections. So I really enjoy that. It's really kind of just what I was looking for. So I do that once a week. So that's another hour, maybe hour and 20 minutes. And then finally I found another gentleman. His name is Alfredo Gorga. He's from Uruguay. And he also has a YouTube channel, I think called Spanish. Let me see. Spanish to the People. And actually I had seen his YouTube channel before, because he's a Spanish teacher and he helps people on their Spanish language learning journey. And I'd watched some of his videos and I liked them, and I was doing a search on the internet about italki teachers or Spanish teachers that are good at conversation, because what I have learned is not every Spanish teacher is good at conversation. Some are good at teaching grammar, good at teaching material from books, but not everybody, and is good at being a good conversationalist. They don't keep the conversation going. They kind of leave it up to the student to lead the session, or what do you want to talk about, or sometimes things can kind of get boring. But he's a very good conversationalist, and what I like too about him is that he can suggest things for you to talk about, especially like TED Talks in Spanish. He gives you a suggestion, hey, watch this video, and he's watched it too. He's done some homework, And then we talk about it. Hey, I can tell him what did I look at? Did I have any comments? What did I think? And he can have input. So it's a more structured type of conversation classes, which is really what I was looking for. He's from Uruguay, like I said, and I don't know much about Uruguay, so I'm learning a lot about that country. He's very knowledgeable about different things, so I meet with him on Fridays for an hour. So again, I meet with Victor, my italki teacher in Mexico City, usually now on Mondays for an hour. I meet with Santiago in Spain for 1 hour in that group conversational class on Thursdays, and then I meet with Alfredo Friday on italki for 1 hour. And I found that that's really been beneficial for me, and so I've just been, like I said, focusing more on conversation and still listening comprehension, those two things. So where I'm at, I find that's a good fit. That's a good fit for me. That means that's a good way to try to help and improve my Spanish. So finally, let me close out and tell you something that happened to me, which I'm kind of excited about. So every now and then, not very often, maybe let me let this vehicle go by. Every now and then, maybe only like once every 2 or 3 months, so it's not often at all, I might have opportunity, and if I feel like it, there's a couple of Spanish-English meetup groups that I have get notice about them having meetup sessions. And if you don't know what a Spanish-English meetup group is usually for 2 hours or so, people get together, and it's people learning Spanish and people learning English, so you help each other out. The coordinator breaks people up into chat rooms, we say, usually with no more than about 4 people per room, and there's a mixture of Spanish speakers and English speakers, and you might speak English for 20-30 minutes, and then you speak Spanish for 20-30 minutes, and you just keep alternating languages like that for the 2 hours or so that the meetup group meets. So I used to do that quite a bit, but I stopped doing that a lot because I got a little bit disillusioned. Disillusioned, did you know what that means? Disillusioned means like I didn't think that it was that good of a thing to do for me. A lot of people like it. Or disillusioned, like it wasn't as effective for me or as helpful for me as maybe other people, because sometimes, not always, you have people in the meetup groups that kind of dominate the conversation, and you don't get a chance to really say a whole lot. You're just listening. And if I said to myself, well, if I want to listen, I can practice my listening comprehension by watching some YouTube videos or listening to podcasts. I really came on here to try to practice my conversation, but sometimes it doesn't really work out like you plan all the time. But I have had some very good conversations and meetings with people and learned a lot of things, so they are beneficial. So don't get me wrong, which is an expression like don't misunderstand me. I'm not knocking meetup groups, which means I'm not saying anything that they're negative or you shouldn't do it. I'm not knocking them. But sometimes, everything has their issue, and sometimes for me it hasn't been the best way to practice conversation. I prefer to meet with somebody one-on-one, or in a more structured group setting where there's kind of a moderator, like a teacher, and they can make sure that everybody has their enough time to speak. But I did go on a meetup group about a week and a half ago on a Monday, and I have been on this meetup group before, and I like it because the organizer's like a very nice guy. He's from Mexico. And the meetup group has grown quite a bit. And I think they have maybe like 60, 70 people that come to this meetup group every Monday. So if you haven't been to a meetup group, you might want to look into that. And I'm walking past the lake now, so I'm going to maybe turn around and have the lake at my back so you can have some beautiful scenery to look at while I go on, while I keep talking. But I went to this meetup group, and in my group there was a gentleman from Chile. His name was, his name was Carlos Toledo, and he's a retired elementary school teacher, and I think he mainly taught English. I think he taught English, and his English is very good, and he's a very nice guy, very interesting, and he has a YouTube channel and a Facebook group, and he's very interesting, very energetic. And what I like and admire about Carlos is he's really having fun in his retirement years. So he likes to meet people, make friends from around the world, and then he invites them, if they want to come on his YouTube channel. He'll do an interview with them in either English or Spanish, and just to get to know them and to kind of spread the goodwill. And I really like that. So after the meetup group, he told us about his YouTube channel and his contact information, so I went and checked it out. I liked it. I like his videos on YouTube in Spanish, so I watched some of those to help my listening comprehension. And I told him, hey, Carlos, I'd like to be a guest on your YouTube show. What do you think about that? And then also, hey, if you would like, I'd like to interview you for my YouTube channel and how you learned English. So yeah, we corresponded and chit-chatted, and we agreed to do that. So Tuesday, I was interviewed by Carlos on his YouTube channel for his show, and I asked him, hey, could we do it in Spanish though? Because I felt it would be a nice challenge for me and something I could test myself and push myself with, and also because I thought it would be a lot of fun and kind of see where my Spanish is, my conversational Spanish is. So we had the interview on Tuesday, and it's lasted about a little over 30 minutes. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and he's posted it on his YouTube channel, so I'm going to put a link to the video down below in the description if you want to check that out. Like I said, it's in Spanish, but those of you that don't speak Spanish, you can turn on the English subtitles if you want to read along. It'd be good practice for you in reading, and you can do that and to see how I did. But I want to say that too because I learned some things. What I did, I went back and downloaded the Spanish transcript off of YouTube and kind of corrected some mistakes and went through it briefly to see kind of where how I did, where I made some mistakes. And this is what I learned. I learned that I made quite a few mistakes. I did better than I thought maybe. And but I made a lot of what I call rookie mistakes. A rookie is like a person that is new to something. So we say in English, I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I might not be a rookie or new, but you make simple mistakes that you shouldn't make. But I learned that's part of the language learning process. You know, you're going to make mistakes, and you learn from your mistakes, and you improve slowly. So it's not a quick thing to learn how to speak well in another language I'm learning. It takes a lot of time, and to really get good at speaking, you have to speak, and you have to make mistakes. So it was a very good learning experience, and some of those mistakes I know I can correct. And I think too, I was in it, we were having a good time, we were focused on the conversation, and I wasn't really focusing, I guess, as much as maybe I normally do on trying to be correct, so some things came out wrong. But we say that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the beast. That means that's how things go. That's how the natural things go, and it's going to happen. So like I said, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. And I use that as a segue, I can say, as a segue, like another introduction to say this, and to say if some of you want to challenge yourself and practice your English, I would love to talk with you and see if you want to be a guest on the Learn Everyday English YouTube channel. I can do an interview with you and talk to you about how you learned English or how you are learning English, where you're at on your English language learning journey. So if you have an interest about doing that, leave me a comment below how to contact you, and we can have you on the show. I think a lot of other people would be interested in that. And finally, I want to say another thing. I do every now and then talk with other people in Spanish, just through an interchange where we talk for an hour, 30 minutes English, 30 minutes Spanish, with just two people. So I get a lot of opportunity during those times, and there's two people that I talk to, not all the time, not every week, maybe every couple weeks. One is Eduardo. I want to give a shout out. That means like a say hi, and to Eduardo in Colombia, and we talk, and also Alejandro, who's from Mexico but lives in San Diego. But so those are free ways that you can learn to practice your conversational skills. And finally, I want to say another thing that I did recently, or the other day, is I like to listen to a specific podcast by a gentleman by the name of Joel Zarate. And he has several podcasts for helping people learn Spanish. And one of the podcasts is where he interviews Spanish language learners from other countries and talks to them about how they're learning Spanish, how their language learning journey is going. And I really like to listen to that because I can get a perspective from other people and how they're learning Spanish and the things they went through, and compare it to mine, and find it very interesting. And they had on their site, they said, if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, let us know and we can have you on. So I said, hey, that would be fun. That would be good. I'd love to be a guest on their podcast. And I sent Joel a note, and he emailed, and he responded saying, yeah, I would love to have you, and I'd probably interview you myself, and he'll be back in touch. So they normally do the interviews like in a group of people at a time. They have one session coming up in October. I may not make that interview session. May have to wait till January, and then the earliest opening for the podcast to come on or air would be in March of next year. But I told him, hey, that's fine with me. So I'd like to do that. So I'm kind of pushing myself. I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone, maybe out of my envelope of security. But I really find it a lot of fun and challenging, something I like to do. So maybe that's something you can do also in other channels or podcasts. So I say that to send you a challenge, Don't just stay in your comfort zone, your own bubble, comfortable bubble. Sometimes you need to push yourself out of that and to challenge yourself with maybe something a little bit more difficult. But that's the way you will really grow. I think you will grow a lot faster in your English language journey. So that's all I wanted to say today. It's kind of more so than I thought I would say. I was a little bit long-winded, like it means I talked a lot or more than I thought. But hey, it is what it is. So hope you liked the video. Hey, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you want to be a guest on the show here. Be glad to do an interview with you. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and 3, tell your friends about it. Well, that's it for this episode of Learn Everyday English. Hey, take it easy, have a good weekend, and we'll check you later. Goodbye.